All right, so here we go. Welcome to another episode of Complete Triathletes. I hope you're having a fantastic week, and more than that, I hope that spring is upon you. My training partner bailed on me this week. She's out in San Diego for a while, actually for the entire week and then some, and so I'm sitting here contemplating my ride. Should I get on the trainer, or should I get out on the fat tire bike and go out in the cold and wind alone? Choices. I want to give a shout out to my growing team on Kiva. We've got the Complete Triathlete team over on Kiva. If you haven't heard about that, it's a micro-lending platform. And basically, I'm taking all the proceeds from the Triathlon Smoothie book and donating it to Kiva and handing out free gift cards, which allows you to pick a loan from anywhere around the world, dedicate it to the Complete Triathlon team, the Complete Triathlete team, and help entrepreneurs around the world achieve greatness. And so that's what this is all about, is achieving the best that you can be in triathlon, life, health, all of it together. So just want to give you a shout out there. The book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the usual places, but you can find it at the bottom of the blog. That's probably the best place to buy it because it allows me to hand out more of those Kiva gift cards. So no pressure, just check it out. And I'd love to have your comments and feedback on there. I want to thank my friend Andy for putting up a word cloud. You can find it on the Facebook page. I'll put a link to it in the show notes over there with the Complete Triathlete. Pretty cool little graphic designing skills that he's got, something that I possess very little of. But anyways, and then one last thing before we head into the bulk of this is there's an Instagram link. It's at the bottom of the blog page there, posting mostly just some pictures. I'd love to connect with you there. You can find it at Mitchell MD. That's where it's at for now. I'm trying to consolidate things instead of having it scattered all over. So that's where you can find a little bit about what's going on in the training world and a few pictures of my Great Danes who I love to train with. But anyways, this episode is focusing on swim, triathlon swim, or the tri-swim. And the concept is basically it's all in your head. And what I mean by that, I'm going to elaborate here, but often the swim part is probably the least favorite for a lot of triathletes. Myself, the first season I raced was just okay, but now I've just grown to love it, and I look forward to my swim workouts. There's sort of a meditation or almost a water yoga session, if you will, where it just allows you to be in the now and focus on the stroke, the technique, and it really pretty much blots out everything else. It's kind of like playing a musical instrument for those of you that play guitar or piano or whatever. It's really hard to think about anything else but what you're doing, and I think the same applies to swim. But that's not what this episode's about. It's actually about the head and actually your head position in the water. And I see this a lot, and I think it's an easy habit to get into, and that's raising your head. And raising your head creates a whole lot of problems for the swim stroke. When you elevate your head or extend your neck, it causes your hips to sink and your legs to sink. And instead of traveling through the water in a flat horizontal position with least amount of drag, you're actually increasing the surface area that hits the water that you're pushing by about 40% at least. And so just the concept on the blog is just drawing the analogy between an arrow kind of flying through the air or the water, the difference in drag between perfectly horizontal flight versus angular flight, which results in drag, results in the whole body sort of torpedoing up out of the water, which exponentially increases the drag and also increases the amount of energy that you're expending to get through the water and cover the same distance. And so I see a lot of swimmers who are maybe a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit anxious. They tend to swim with a head-up position. They tend to sight with almost every stroke or every other stroke out of, I guess, fear of colliding with somebody or getting lost in the open water swim. And I think a couple ways to kind of work around that. The way I like to think of it is almost like an anchor or a string, just from my center of my forehead, or even just in my nose, my swim goggles, down to straight to the bottom of the pool, and I just imagine this anchor kind of coming with me as I swim down, swim the lap, and turn back, or in the open water at the bottom of the lake. Most of the lakes I swim in, you can't see the bottom anyways, but that's how I like to envision it, and that helps me keep my head in a neutral, relaxed position. The other thing that I think that a lot of us probably can notice or perceive if you really pay attention and get in tune with your body is the tension that you feel in your neck your shoulders, your trapezius, those cord muscles that run from the neck up into the base of the skull. All those are firing off when you're extending your neck. And just try, if you want to get an idea of what it really feels like, just try swimming a lap or two with your goggles right at water level, or maybe just above water level, and you'll know the difference. You'll feel it within 25 meters. You're going to have some significant tightness, and maybe even start to develop a little bit of a headache or tension type headache, just from the constant contraction of your cervical spine muscles trying to hold your head up in that certain position. And so that's one way around it. The other way that my swim coach I think was instrumental in helping me discover is to feel the water with your head. It's a little bit more challenging if you're wearing a swim cap, but I think you'll be able to tell the difference in the way the water sounds as it passes around your ears if you're wearing a cap. But the way I like to think of it is, when swimmers learn proper catch phase and to learn to feel the water with their forearms, after a while you really can tell the difference between the way the water feels against your forearm when you have a proper catch versus when your forearm is more horizontal and you're just slipping through the water, not really grabbing and pulling the water, not really anchoring yourself and going forward. And so the same type of sensation, at least in my mind, can be felt on the head. As your head is in proper position, you're leading with your head. You're basically the wedge that's driving the water around your body and creating that slipstream of efficiency. And so if you want to really get an idea of what that feels like, just try swimming with your arms at your sides, or even just interlock your hands behind your back and just kick only, and you'll have a pretty good idea of what it feels like when the water is hitting the head in the proper position. And so just try those two drills out. There's some other ones out there, but those are the ones that I learned many years ago, and I still stick with and still share with other triathletes as well. So that's the swim part of it. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the gut health, and I promise I'm not going to go all scientific nerdy on you. I just want to point out a few things. We're still in the flu season. We're still dealing with a lot of winter colds. We're training hard. We're getting ready for the preseason and tending to get sick more. And so gut health is essential. And just think about this concept, this topic. It's called the microbiome, or the gut microbiome, and that just relates to the amount of bacteria in your intestinal tract. And most of us think of the bugs as just that. They're just bugs. They're just sitting there. They're just not really doing anything. But in reality, these bugs, these bacteria, exceed the number of cells in our body by at least tenfold, probably more, depending on which source that you cite. But that's a significant. We're outnumbered. We truly are outnumbered. And so these bacteria have the ability to produce proteins, to produce messengers, to really communicate with each other, and also affect the rest of the metabolic machinery in your body. Bacteria possess over 80 enzymes that can help metabolize carbohydrates. And so I see a lot of patients that say, I'm not really eating that much or that many carbs in my diet, but I can't seem to lose weight. I just don't get it. I check my blood sugar, and my blood sugar is higher than it should be, and I don't understand. Some of that relates to the gut bacteria, as they're breaking down carbohydrates much farther along than our own innate metabolism machine and cellular machinery can. They're actually increasing the amount of simple sugars that are produced or extracted from carbohydrates, and this can result in a blood sugar spike. And so that's just a simple idea about how the gut bacteria really affect us more globally than we thought in the past. And so another aspect I want to just point out is there's a metabolite from the microbiome, and tricarbolate, and that actually binds magnesium. Low magnesium can affect a variety of enzymes, muscular function. It even affects the way the heart beats. And so that's just a small area where what you're putting in your body, the way you're treating your gut, can affect your overall health. And as I'm trying to tie this together with the end of the winter season and training and maybe some illness, is that a single course of antibiotics radically alters your gut flora, your gut bacteria. It just drastically affects some of the healthy populations of bacteria, and can allow some of the more toxic and more damaging bacteria to proliferate and grow and sort of take over. And there's plenty of data out there, but some antibiotics can have effects that last up to several years. Even just a single course of a 7 to 10 day antibiotic can result in changes that last 21 months up to several years. And so just think about that when you're visiting your doctor if you're sick and you're thinking you need an antibiotic, or maybe you're taking an antibiotic. And so that's just sort of the take-home point. I think it's important for triathletes, endurance athletes, and, well, the population in general, to really carefully consider what you're putting into your body, particularly if you're taking medications and antibiotics, and really just have a heart-to-heart discussion with the physician prescribing that to you, and just ask about, is this essential that I have this? Is there some strategies that maybe I could minimize the impact of this antibiotic on my gut, my overall health? Should I be taking a probiotic? Those are all questions just really that need to be asked ahead of time. So next, I just want to move on to a listener question. Steve asked about magnesium dosing and wasn't really clear what the purpose of the different forms are. And so the way I take magnesium is 1,000 milligrams twice a day. And so there's a few different regimens out there. Some are 400 twice a day, but I personally have found that 1,000 milligrams for myself and my training load is probably the most beneficial in terms of muscle soreness. I've really kind of ramped that up in the last 6 months, just kind of coinciding with training for longer events and also doing some competitive racing and skate skiing and the winter months as well. And so the forms that I use are citrate and malate. These are just different formulations of chemical structure that affect somewhat how it's absorbed. The type to stay away from would be carbonate or oxide, magnesium oxide. These are just not absorbed poorly. These are absorbed poorly, like magnesium oxide. Don't waste your money on that. That's what you can find at the common aisle of the vitamin section at the large supermarket chain stores, Target and whatnot. So stay away from that. Look for a citrate or malate, or there's even a taurate, magnesium taurate, which has been shown to be beneficial for patients who have some issues with heart palpitations and whatnot. So anyways, that kind of wraps up this episode. As I promised, I'm keeping these short and actionable. You're a triathlete, your husband, father, wife, college student. You're from all walks of life, and I know you're busy. You're like all of us, time crunched. And so thanks for your time and your interest. And remember, you can sign up on the blog. I'm going to be sharing to the audience there on the I don't want to call it a newsletter because it's not really a newsletter. It's just actionable tips that are just one paragraph long that come out periodically about how I achieved my personal best 5K by experimenting with some scientifically validated supplements. And so if you're interested in hearing about that and maybe trying to incorporate some of those concepts into your training program, your racing program, just go ahead and head over to the blog and you can sign up. On the top, there's a little orange bar, or at the bottom is actually probably the best place to sign up. But either way, I'll find you and I'll get you the information. Thanks for your time. And remember, Kiva, helping globally. And that wraps up the session. I'll play you out with a new little tune here. And I promise I'm working on the intro. I've got some exciting changes to come in the future. Have a fantastic week. Train hard, train smart, and we'll see you there.